Hello, I'm Arlen, and welcome to Common Word, your bookstore and resource center. Part of the genius of Common Word is the synergy between retailing and resourcing. Whether you need a good book to borrow, a small group study to purchase, or a worship resource to download, you can find it all here in one location, in English or many other languages. And that's significant because while there's no shortage of Christian resources in Canada, Google can help you find 1 million of them, Common Word can help you find the right one to buy, borrow, or access online. Our staff are knowledgeable and work diligently to source and make available those specific Anabaptist and related resources you need. Resources to inspire, equip, provoke, and engage you and your congregations in discipleship, peacemaking, and reconciliation, and other core practices of our Mennonite faith. As the pandemic restrictions ease and congregational patterns are reimagined, as you engage the critical issues of climate change, Indigenous settler relations, the intercultural church, and many other important agenda, as you worship, study, discern, and grow, check in with Common Word for essential resources that can help shape your personal and congregational journeys. Our loan items ship free to your home and back to Winnipeg. Our digital resources, including thousands of Together in Worship materials, are free, and our retail titles are all competitively priced. So I invite you to study our quarterly Common Read title, borrow a congregational display, join an online book launch or author conversation, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to our bi-weekly curator email, embed an RSS feed on your congregation's website, and of course, keep reading. In 2022, we processed almost 800 online orders, over 7,500 in-store purchases, over 2,400 loans, and nearly 20,000 downloads. Thank you for your engagement, and thank you for your support and ongoing commitment to Christian formation. We value the relationship we have with you and look forward to serving you in the year ahead. So let's stay in touch. Our contact information is in the report book and at commonword.ca. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Jonathan Neufeld, your Indigenous Relations Coordinator with Mennonite Church Canada. I have been tasked with supporting the regional Indigenous Relations working groups, being a thought partner and resource as congregations work together to walk a path of reconciliation with Indigenous neighbors. I appreciate the warm welcome I have received from the groups that are underway, and I would like to highlight for you all today one initiative from each region that engages with Call to Action 59, and that is to develop ongoing education strategies to ensure that our congregations learn about our church's role in colonization, the history and legacy of residential schools, and why apologies to former residential school students, their families, and communities were necessary. Such learning strategies are taking many forms. The Manitoba Coalition for Indigenous Solidarity is hosting a public performance of New Blood, featuring poetry, music, contemporary and traditional dance. The show is inspired by the life of Blackfoot Chief Vincent Yellow Old Woman and his experience as a child in residential school, how he reclaimed his way of life and became chief of his people. The Mennonite Church of British Columbia's Indigenous Relations Task Force is preparing for their 8th annual ecumenical walk in the spirit of reconciliation. The walk begins at the Fort Langley Museum, a place that celebrates colonialism, and ends at the site of the former St. Mary's Residential School. They walk in lament and solidarity with First Nations brothers and sisters, remembering the traumatic harm done by residential schools throughout Canada. In Calgary, Mennonite Church Alberta members at Foothills Mennonite Church established Buffalo Shout, a reconciliation group committed to building relationships with Indigenous peoples and confronting the history of colonization, including recently taking the University of Alberta's Indigenous Canada course together. The Mennonite Church of Eastern Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Working Group recently initiated an online book study of Walking Together, a collection of stories from the ministry of Neil and Edith Van Gutten. Their stories invite the church to grapple with questions of racism and Christian supremacy in order to see that all peoples and cultures bear Creator's beauty and gifts, and that our reconciliation depends on embracing that truth. Lastly, Walking the Path from Mennonite Church Saskatchewan has commissioned a new documentary, Custodians, a film about the living library of Indigenous history buried in the pasture land around Herschel, Saskatchewan.
We have things to learn from each other.
It's like a library. We've discovered a living library.
Identifying this stuff is an opportunity, not a problem. It's an opportunity for bridge building.
The documentary raises important questions of land sharing, the conservation of ancient intellectual and spiritual heritage, and respectful Indigenous settler collaboration. This is just a taste of the efforts that are bringing together our church to come alongside Indigenous communities in a good way. You can find out what else is happening in your region by contacting your local working group. Our church family has made covenants to honor Indigenous people's rights. We continue to stand behind those promises and pray that the Spirit will empower the church to live into them. Thank you.
About a year ago, leaders from the 5 regional bodies of Mennonite Church Canada got together to initiate a nationwide response to the climate crisis. One result of this conversation is a document called Taking Action on Climate Change, the Eco Mission of the Church in a Critical Time. Maybe you've seen it. Another result of our leaders spending some time thinking about how the church must respond to the climate crisis is that Mennonite Church Canada created a half-time position called Climate Action Coordinator. And that's what brings me here today. I'm Sandy Plett, and I'm so excited to be the first to fill this position. What is my assignment, you ask? My assignment is to work with the church to gain understanding of the climate crisis and to support and encourage a faithful response to it. I've been at this work for a few months, and here's one thing I've noticed so far. Across this country, people are moving in response to the climate crisis. Different aspects of the crisis move different people, and people move in different ways. 4 out of the 5 regions of Mennonite Church Canada have formed climate-related working groups within the last 2 years. Did you know that? In each region of the country, the working groups have used different words to describe their work. Listen to what these groups have called themselves and consider the perspectives and priorities that these words represent in our midst. Creation Care Resource Team, Climate Action Working Group, Creation Care Task Group, Climate Emergency Response Team. And we also have a national committee called the Sustainability Leadership Group. Who knew there were so many different ways to name this work? Creation Care, Climate Action, Sustainability, and Climate Emergency Response. All these words point to people acting out a faithful response to the climate crisis. Which words resonate with you? Your homework is to find out which is the name of the group in your region. Once you know about your region's group, ask how you can support what they're up to, or how they can support what you're up to. If there isn't a group yet where you are, maybe your gifts could lend themselves to helping you start one. You know, your passions, interests, and skills, the things you're good at. Figure out how your superpowers intersect with the work that needs to be done and offer them up. If you're new to the climate conversation, or not, and want to do some reading on climate, check out the Common Word table here today, or check out Common Word's website. You'll find lots of good resources from educational tools to advocacy strategies and everything in between. If you have ideas for me on how I can support the climate conversation in your region, or how we can build our voice as a national church taking action on climate, please be in touch with me. In all of this work, I'm grateful that climate action is part of our family story, the story of what Mennonite Church Canada is up to in the world. Let's connect our efforts and raise our voices across the country, acting out God's love for the earth and all creation in the midst of the climate crisis. Let's walk together with hope and joy into this work. Hi everyone, Sandy Platt here, Climate Action Coordinator for Mennonite Church Canada. I have 3 exciting stories to share with you today. First, Mennonite Church Canada has officially endorsed For the Love of Creation, a Canadian interfaith organization that focuses on climate justice and the church through education, reflection, action, and advocacy. I'm telling you so that you can be ahead of the curve and learn all about For the Love of Creation right now. So look them up. Second, Mennonite Church Canada has launched an emissions reduction grant. Information about this grant is available on the Mennonite Church Canada webpage, and the grant is designed to help churches reduce emissions on their building and property with a bit of funding. So check that out. And third and last, Mennonite Church Manitoba hosted a retreat in April called Living Hope. It was for youth and young adults. And you're going to see a video now that will tell you all you need to know about that event. Take care. Talk to you soon.
The Living Hope Retreat offered us a space to gather together to talk, learn, pray, create, dream, and hope. And that is what we did.
I was at Living Hope this weekend, and the young people in our church are ready to take action.
Over the weekend, we listened hard. We discussed, debated a wide range of topics.
Hello, I'm Ty, and something that I learned at Living Hope was that in a society that encourages everyone to rush really fast, slowing down, being still, is a rebellious act of resistance.
What is our relationship with creation? How do we understand the words adaptation and mitigation? Is there an intersection, and what is it between our care for creation and Indigenous relationships?
I was at Living Hope and I learned a lot about farming that I didn't know before.
We heard our collective desire to live simply so that others could simply live. And most importantly, it was our heart's desire to live as people, as communities of faith, love, hope in these days.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarah, and if I took one thing away from this weekend, it would probably be that there is still hope. If we can work together, we can surely build a greener future.
We named our losses and laments. We sang, we cried, we celebrated. We invited the Spirit to make us a people who both held and embodied a living hope.
3. Happy birthday!
Perfect, done.